Hey everyone, Trevor Henson here with today's best ever real estate marketing investment advice with Robert Abbasi. Almost 40 years in the business, Robert. Entrepreneur, Robert. Husband, Robert. Son, Robert. Father, Robert.
Whatever you do, don't do the math of my age. Anyway.
So tell me, Robert. First of all, thank you for coming on our show today. How did it all start with real estate for you? How did you get involved with investing in real estate?
Well, I tell you how I started. It's an interesting thing. I was in high school, so it's a ways back.
High school.
And last century. And I read this book called from Robert Allen called Nothing Down. And
Nothing Down.
It was how to buy. It's a famous book, or was, and he had several series after that. It said how to buy a property with nothing down. So guess what? When I was 19, I bought my first property rental. It was a single family house beat up in Hermosa Beach, and I bought it from nothing down. Yes.
No kidding.
Yes, I had the owner carry back the whole thing. I then rented it. I fixed it myself with my own hands, so I learned a lot of real world skills, painting, carpentry, plumbing. I did a horrible job, so I decided I better be a white collar guy. But in any case, that was a very good experience. So I was 19 years old. I bought that property, fixed it up myself, rented it, and had a bad tenant. So talk about a compressed college education in one damn property, property, sorry.
Investing MBA in one deal.
Yeah, it was an MBA in one deal. So that was my start.
Wow, and that was your first deal?
That was my first deal, but now to qualify, you said multifamily. So my first multifamily deal, you guys are managing right now.
No kidding.
I bought it, yes, when I was 20 years old. Yeah, beachfront, of course. I bought it when I was 23 years old. It's 17 units in Long Beach, and you're managing it right now.
No kidding, you still have it. Wow.
Still have it. Santa Fe Avenue. Thank goodness for Prop 13. My tax base is very low, and it does well.
Thank goodness for Prop 13. Amen to that.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of deals, what was your most significant deal? Was that your most significant one?
Yeah,
would you call that your most significant deal?
Yeah, so I'm about equally as much into commercial properties as apartments. I like both a lot for different reasons. I do like commercial a lot. I think Forbes 400, there was a guy, big billionaire guy, and he said, well, people who own apartments sleep better, and people who own commercial eat better. So I still remember that. And basically, when things are good with
I have never heard that.
when things are a little bit down, apartments are safer. So the significant deal I still have, and Beachfront manages that as well, is a grocery anchored shopping center. It has AutoZone, it has the Kroger grocery store, Food for Less. It has Wells Fargo. It has a lot of triple net, credit tenants. But that itself it's significant. It's a big asset. It's about 135,000 square feet. However, how I got into it is even the better part of the story. I effectively got into that deal for about 2% down payment. Okay, wow. It was a leveraged buyout, but it was I won't get too much into this in this short segment, but I optioned an apartment building in Lakewood, in Bellflower on Lakewood Boulevard. I optioned it. I turned it around before I exercised the option. I then exercised the option. I created equity, and then I did an exchange into this shopping center. So my option monies and my fix-up costs were a very nominal amount, 100, 200,000, which now is in a shopping center that is worth several tens of millions of dollars. So that was a pretty significant. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting deal.
Wow. And was this further down the line in your career, or was this part of the when did this take place?
It was around 2004-ish. So yeah, about half midpoint.
Some experience by then.
Yeah, quite a bit. Mostly creative financing, things like that, creative deal making, and that was a creative one.
Side note here, folks, Robert is also the king of multifamily and commercial financing. Creative financing.
Bridge financing.
Absolutely. What does your portfolio look like today?
It's a very diverse. The question you had asked before, it's very diverse. So I have the typical apartment buildings locally. I have some apartment buildings out of state. I have quite a bit of commercial locally and out of state. Some shopping centers, office building, and some small industrial. I have properties in Arkansas, Texas, what else? A few others. Oh, Florida. These are shopping centers, mostly. Yeah, retail. I have a portfolio of mobile home parks in Pacific Northwest. That's more as a passive investor with some people,
Right.
but that's also a very a good asset. So I'm very diversified of single family home rental homes, and then some. Finally, to cap it off, some local small development deals, niche ADU stuff, some conversion stuff, some opportunity zone items. So I'm kind of, my hands touch a lot of things. My tentacles are out there in the business.
And still a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this, your portfolio sounds like the golden goose. What advice would you impart upon someone who's just trying to enter the investment property space, either in multifamily or commercial or industrial office? How would you tell them to get started when I don't believe there's zero down programs anymore at the moment, but
there's always zero down programs. You just have to create it. And zero down doesn't just mean the seller doesn't get the zero down. You may get the money from somewhere else, friends and family. There's lots of different ways to go. But to your question, let's just first start with, it's not a get rich quick deal. Real estate is a generational thing. It takes a long time to build the true wealth. But
you feel like people think it's a get rich quick these days?
A lot of people think they'll buy something and flip it and double their money right away. And sometimes they will, but you're also counting on what the market's doing. And we're in a market right now where things are shifting. But real estate is the surest way to wealth out of all asset classes. But it's hard work. Let's not be delusional. It's hard work. Absolutely. What would I recommend to someone? They have to be ready and prepared to roll up their sleeves. They cannot be in a situation where they can just do a 9-to-5 thing and forget about it. There's a lot involved in owning real estate, a lot of details on financing, property management, which we are beachfront, and therefore that's why people use us. It's a lot of work. I would start in some real estate field if you're able. Property management, brokerage is a great start because you see lots of transactions. And as you see the transactions, you're meeting very smart people who basically educate you by criticizing your transactions, and you find out what's bad and good. Property management is also a good place to start. So you have a base, and then start buying slowly, buy little by little. Do friends and family if you have to. Right. Start small. You won't believe how much it snowballs over time if you just methodically make a goal. Buy one a year, buy two a year. Next thing you know, 10 years later, you're owning a big portfolio of properties.
So your advice, just to distill it, would be get an entry-level job at a property management company on the operational side, or a brokerage side, or at a multifamily brokerage firm as an analyst.
So anything in real estate, but you have to remember, of course, a lot of people are trained in many different fields. They're attorneys, CPAs, doctors. So they can't really go work at a property management or as a broker. True. So
I'm thinking from like out of college, but
right. So in fact, there might be in a whole nother vocation, even entertainment. However, there is a huge advantage people have today that we never had in the olden days, and that's called the internet. You literally can get an entire college education on the internet, not even formally. If you Google, and real estate is a very deep topic. There is so much. Deep. You can literally Google how to start in real estate, and you start getting bits and pieces.
So many things out there.
It's amazing. If you inculcate yourself and pick up a few gurus who written these books, etc., you really can learn a huge amount there. And then you can start dabbling. You can start looking in your own market. Maybe do a territory and start getting to really know your local market really well. And then you can start finding arbitrage, meaning you'll see value.
What does that mean? Explain a little more on arbitrage.
It's basically, this was one game-changing article I read in Forbes magazine in who knows when, it was early 2000s. Real estate is always an inefficient market. Unlike the stocks, unlike bonds, you can pick up the phone to Morgan Stanley or whoever and find out what IBM just traded for right now, right? That's easy.
Right.
Real estate's very inefficient. There's not two pieces of real estate that are identical. Even in a condo complex, one faces the pool, one faces the ocean, one faces the back alley, which is not worth as much. There are so many variances. So to have those market knowledge by studying your local market, you pick up knowledge, and your competitor, if they don't know those little nuances, won't pick up the fact that that this has upside. That's what I call arbitrage. This property may comp out the same as this property, but this property is worth 30,000 more because the way it faced, maybe the condition, maybe the way the sun hits it, right? Some people love morning sun, some people like sunset. So there's a whole series of little nuanced niche things that if you know, you'd be shocked at how you can pick up value.
That is a very interesting definition of arbitrage. So you're arbitraging almost the perceived value, or because it's subjective, right? It's always about what's one comps to another, one building comp to another.
Yeah, and maybe a better word than arbitrage is inefficiencies. Real estate is not an efficient market like stocks and bonds. You just don't know the value that minute. Boom. There's many variables, and even down to if it's across this street versus that street. So if you know those nuances, you can take advantage of inefficiencies. Arbitrage is more of a Wall Street term I tend to use, but an inefficient market will allow you to pick up a better deal because of that situation.
So if you know more than your competitor about that market, you win.
Perfect. Well said.
Hey, you outsmart your competition, outstudy, outgrind.
Exactly. So I go back to, it's not easy work. It's not a 9-to-5 job, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job, then it's a 5-to-9 job.
Right. Then it becomes your other job, right? Especially if you're in escrow or something. Talking about escrows, what is one of the one or two of the biggest challenges you faced in your career? If there was an instance or a law or a situation or something like that, what would it be? What would those be?
The biggest challenge is human nature. Okay, when you're young and dumb and full of whatever, you want to grow. You buy this, you leverage this, and pretty soon you can get over your skis pretty quickly in real estate. What I mean by that is you use leverage, you over lever, or maybe use expensive debt, which is supposed to be temporary. Suddenly the rents take a hit, or more importantly, you have vacancies, and suddenly your water heater goes out, and now you're in a cash squeeze. And if you get too much of that going on, you take an equity or asset with equity, and you could still be in a world of hurt, and might have to sell it at a distress or whatever. So getting over leveraged and getting over your skis is human nature. When you're growing and young, you go.
Right.
So
bulletproof, right?
Most people I've seen make a huge amount of money with the highest net worths, which I see a lot of financial statements in my bridge loan business. What I found is they are methodically buying and managing tightly and are accumulating, but in a methodical way, not in a haphazard way. You need a plan.
You need a plan, not just whatever you feel like. And that's good. And I have seen investors do that, and it works somehow. I know I have a few, not very many. I don't suggest it, but there's a couple out there that seem to just pick things at random and buy it because they have so much that it doesn't matter, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's work.
Tell me your journey as an entrepreneur. Because in real estate, for me, it's like when you're buying an investment property of any type, it's like you're buying a company. Like it could be a small company, like a 5-unit, or a large company, 100, 200 units, because it is an LLC, it has employees, it has accounting, it has books, it has records, it has tax filings. It is essentially a business of some sort. So the real estate investors really are entrepreneurs. And that then sparks us into a class of, we have other companies, we buy and sell, we merge and things like that. Like how's the journey been for you? What else have you done along the way that you would like to share? Yeah, I know you've not just done real estate. You're not just made real estate businesses. I've seen you. Besides, you have your hard money lending, right? And
we call it bridge lending, yes.
Bridge lending. Sorry, yeah, that's the nice term. It's like
also
marijuana and cannabis now.
Yeah, right. I've been in some other businesses as well, so I understand it. I also did my master's in business at USC, so
right on, Trojan.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to probably make all the UCLA people mad on this video here. But,
hey, that's okay.
I got accepted there too, by the way, so I like that school too. I think back to what I said, just have a plan. You might not want to be a billionaire, so maybe you buy a house or a fourplex or a duplex every year, and you'll be able to retire very well into the early retirement years. just be careful on your debt levels. I experienced that. There's some question. One of your questions is about the ups and downs somewhere, and I rode up very fast. I started in my 20s. By the time I was in my late 30s and about 40, I was at the top of the world. I had a sort of a ego and thought, I can't do any wrong. I mean, this was too easy. And of course, eventually the Great Recession, and the Great Recession really hurt. And I had to unfortunately get rid of, or sell, I should say, a lot of my golden geese properties in order to pay my obligations, and that all worked out great, but it was hurtful. So if I got over my skis, as I was saying.
So you learned the hard way, which is
but hey, you know what? Try to pick up a few mentors too who've already been through this and can warn you of what not to do. Sometimes I get the young aggressive guys like I'm describing come to me and say, "How do I make money? What do I do?" I said, "I'd be better serving you if I tell you what not to do." Right. So that's what you want to learn. Don't make dumb mistakes.
That is very valuable, right? The over leveraged is a mistake a lot of investors get into. I've seen so much managing properties, owning my own properties myself. It seems like one day everything's fine, and next day, literally, they're not. It's almost like they bought something the wrong way, and it was a domino effect across the board for the portfolio.
Yes, yeah. Be methodical. Look at your downside. Everyone looks at the reward, but not the risk. Everything should be a risk reward.
Look at your downside.
A cost benefit calculation. If you can run your life that way, even down to buying stuff at the grocery store, that might be overkill. But it just works.
This chocolate cake costs $10, but what else is it going to do to me?
Yeah, good point. Good point. Blood sugar.
All right. Well, that brings us to our lightning round questions, Robert. These are just rapid fire. We'll ask them quick, answer them quick, and we will be a wrap, sir. You ready?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. What's the best business book you've ever read?
Well, there's a million of them, but a fairly unknown book and written literally from 8,000 years ago. The principles of 8,000 years ago. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Richest Man in Babylon. Favorite.
Yeah. It's got 7 wealth principles, and this is what's so crazy. The same thing for 8,000 years ago applies today. Human nature is human nature, and that's
back to what you said at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what's good grounding for a financial mind. It's a book about financial
Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, so I would recommend. It's not an easy read, sort of a little bit old school, but you got to do it.
What's your craziest real estate story?
Oh,
or funniest, wildest.
Remember, I started. Yeah, well, I don't know about funniest. I started in the property management business, and particularly in the '90s, it was a rough time. There's a recession. There were I've been surrounded in courtyards by gang members with guns. I've had guns on me. I've had all kinds of threats. If you don't return a security deposit, someone wants to come bang the door on your office and pull out a gun. I didn't get a gun in my office, but they came and were very threatening because they didn't get their security deposit. Of course, they destroyed the place. Of course, they're not going to get their security deposit. So it could be a little dangerous to be on the front line. So that's why people should hire beachfront property management. Let you do that hard work. We just want to collect our checks, our distributions. I used to, back in the day, I used to go at midnight to go look at all the lighting on my buildings. Midnight. And sometimes they were in Linwood and Compton and these kind of places. So you'd be driving around at midnight, looking at the lighting of your building, how the lights are in the courtyard, at the outside, because lighting is very good security. But you're in you're sort of so that's what I used to do in the good old days.
Why not 8 p.m. instead of midnight?
That was probably summer. I don't know. I don't remember. But because I thought people would be sleeping by midnight. Apparently it wasn't the case.
Good point. Okay. If you were given 24 hours of free time without any guilt, what would you do?
I would do what I do now. I just work. I have a little bit of it. I'd have a good time. I don't know. Lately, I've been liking swimming in a lake and canoeing and stuff like that.
Like lap swimming for distance, for time.
No, just casual looking around, nature. That's fun.
All right. How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for success? Do you have a favorite failure?
No, I think I'm made up today. My abilities, my decision making are based on a series of failures, and I've had many. Had a lot of successes too, thank goodness. But in this business, you have a lot of failures. From losing a tenant eviction in court when you could have won to a much bigger issue, development deal goes awry, market woes, interest rates go through the roof. There's lots of things. And I think my decision making, I got the wisdom now from all those years of suffering from those failures. So it's been a culmination of multiple failures rather than one colossal failure.
Sounds easier to swallow than one massive one, right?
Yes.
Learning over
Yes.
time instead of learning all at once.
Yeah, it's like a plane coming down and you can't pull it back up again. That's not the kind of failure you want. You want to be able to go down and pull back up again.
What is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
Well, one of my passionate hobbies is motorcycle riding, and most people think I'm crazy for the fact that I can ride on the street. And to me, it's actually very safe.
And
It's
what
a
kind
three-dimensional.
of motorcycle do you ride?
I have multiple of them, from Harleys to Ducatis to BMWs to Triumphs. But it's actually very good for your mind. It actually will up your IQ by 5 to 7 points, for real.
Is that a fact?
With a study done in Japan. Now, mind you, it was done by Honda Motor Corporation, but nevertheless, they had a pretty good statistical evidence. And what you do is you use your prefrontal lobe, and so you're doing this three-dimensional chess game. But to your question, it's crazy because people think I'm crazy, and I probably log on a ton of miles on my motorcycles, but they're for business. I actually go look at our properties all the time, management and other things I'm working on. So
you can get through traffic, right? Here in Los Angeles,
but also
deadly.
It's really good for your mind. It's good. It's a good meditation. I used to race motocross when I was a kid. So that.
Oh, wow.
That
So you go way back with it.
Yeah. The muscle memory and all that is still there. Like,
right.
It gives you, cat-like reaction times and all this kind of thing. So,
and last question, Robert, and then thank you for your time. We'll let you go. Is in the last 5 years, what new belief or behavior or habit has most improved your life?
I think over time, as you age, you get more grateful. You get more
gratitude.
One with yourself. You get more, content. When you're in your 30s and 40s, you just want to go take over the world. And however well you do, sometimes someone's doing better than you. So you're competitive and maybe you're uptight over that. Now, at this point, I don't really care. I'm doing fine. And if someone's doing better, more power to them. Mazel tov. So,
you take an attitude of gratitude, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's what it's about now. I'm happy when other people are doing well. I've done my share. I had my ups and downs. I'm leaving on the up, thank goodness. So
yeah, you've had a fantastic career, and it's still going. It's not like you're retired. Like that's what's cool about real estate.
What are you talking? I'm just barely getting started.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like you're still going. So I mean, it's motivating for those of us who haven't been in it for 40 years yet. So. Any parting comments, Robert, before we close on the show?
Well, I think the only thing I would say is that every generation thinks they missed out on the big boom from the last generation and it'll never happen again. And it always does. It's a different way. It's a different kind of thing. It might not be the same exact cycle, but real estate is cyclical. If you go back to those inefficiencies I talked about earlier, there's always inefficiencies in the real estate market. The market's more perfect than it used to be, or less inefficient because the internet has so much information. But again, no two pieces of real estate are the same. There's always arbitrage. There's always inefficiencies that you can exploit. There's always management expertise like raising rents and repositioning properties. That's all knowledge. What kind of finishes to use, what colors work best. It's a constant learning curve. I mean, after nearly 40 years and well immersed in the business, working many, many, many hours every single week, I still don't know everything. And still learning every day.
Lifelong learning, right? Yeah, because when we get to the point that we think we learned it all is when we find ourselves stumbling over ourselves.
Exactly. That's when
is what my experience, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Robert Abbasi, for your time. I do appreciate it. I know your time is very valuable, sir. Thank you for coming on our show here at the Beachfront Property Management. And I will see you on Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you, Trevor.
Take care,
Appreciate
Robert.
your time.